The next thing I'm going to talk about is how to add data to your data frame. So I'm going to get rid of this thing here. I'm just going to right click and choose remove. And I want to add some of that GIS data that we downloaded from our previous exercise from our Marlet Park example. So over here on the left side we have our table of contents. So this huge thing here is called the table of contents. And inside of that, as mentioned earlier, we can have data frames. So this SPKN, this is a data frame, and we can have multiple data frames in here. And inside of a data frame, there are what are called layers. And layers are basically like layers of trace paper. So of course, the layer that is on top is the one that you're going to see, and the layers that are underneath are going to be kind of hidden away by the layer that is on top. And you do have the ability to turn layers on and off so that you can see things that are underneath a layer. And you can also change the way a layer appears. It's called changing the symbology so that you can see different aspects of that data. So let's go ahead and add some data. So to do that, there's a couple of ways. It's mostly personal preference. You can click on this button up here which says Add Data. Personally, I like to just right click on the data frame and choose Add Data, and you'll be presented with this Add Data dialog box. So we'll need to hit this drop down here and go to Folder Connections. And right now you see that my folder connections happens to be blank, and this is because I haven't loaded any GIS data in my ArcGIS before. So this may be the case with you, especially if you have a fresh install of ArcGIS. There's really nothing quite yet configured here yet, so we need to actually do that. So over here in the upper right, I need to do a folder connection. So when I click on this, I should be presented with another dialog box, which is basically asking me what folder do I wish GIS to connect to. So I'm going to go inside of Computer. I'm going to go into my E drive, into my projects, and then I want to choose Marlet Park. Now some people, they like to just choose this E drive to minimize the number of folder connections that they have, while other people want to be very, very specific as to what folder connections appear in their folder connections. So some people like to drill all the way down to this GIS level here. So again, it's really a matter of personal preference. So I'm going to go ahead and drill all the way down to this GIS level. So you can see here that once I click OK, this is the connection that's going to make. It's going to be on my E drive. It's going to connect to projects, to Marlet Park, and then the GIS folder that's inside of my Marlet Park project. So from here, I'll click OK. So just for giggles, I'm just going to click Cancel now, and then go through that whole process again. I'm going to right click and choose Add Data. Now the thing I see right away up here at the top is it's going to connect me directly to this GIS folder inside of Marlet Park. So if I click this drop down and if I go to Folder Connections, that's what I see, that connection that I just made in the previous step. So now if I double click on this and I want to go to my GIS source data, and probably the first thing I'll add is either my aerial photography or my LiDAR terrain data, probably my LiDAR terrain data. So I'm going to go inside of Dask. So remember that we named each of these folders after where we got the data from. So I got it from Dask. And I'm going to go into Surfaces, and I'm going to choose this A_K_2M. And then I'll just click Add. And it will add this piece of data to my data frame. Once the data is added, you can zoom in and look at it and study it. This is terrain data, so everything that is really dark is kind of lower in elevation, and things that are really light in color are high in elevation.